What's going on, guys? So today's video is certainly going to be interesting. If the cicadas let me actually record, because it gets really noisy out here when they start to make their noises, and they're all over the place. That said, we have broken out the SellEton 10,000 pound scale, 2-pound accuracy. This thing is super cool, wireless. I have the display right here. And in today's video, we have all sorts of really awesome and heavy trailer and towing and RV equipment that people wanted to know how much it weighed. So, got the old 25,000 pound rated companion hitch from B&W. I have a 30-pound propane tank. This one's gonna be really interesting because when I walk around RVs, a lot of folks are always trying to figure out, well, when he says it has a 30-pound propane tank that actually weighs more like 50 pounds or 55 pounds, what is he referring to? Because isn't a 30-pound propane tank 30 pounds? Anyways, we have this big boy over here. This is a Spartan from Gen Y. This is their gooseneck hitch or coupler. Very cool. I have a normal coupler that would come on a gooseneck trailer, so that's pretty cool. I have this really interesting Rhino hitch that my friend over at Brian's Lawn Maintenance sent me. This was a big requested item. This is a WaySafe weight distribution hitch. That's gonna be cool. And then I have a clear source water filtration system that I've kind of modified and rigged up to accept a water hose on one side and allow me just to pour straight into a jug on the other side. So we're gonna get to it. This ought to be really interesting. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Now, the purpose of this video isn't just to show you the weight of things, it's to make a point in regards to weight. A lot of people think the pin weight of their fifth wheel is what they need to worry about, but oftentimes when they have a big heavy fifth wheel hitch like this, they don't add that into the pin weight. So they don't basically say, okay, so if my pin weight on my truck is 3,000 pounds, well, depending on how much this assembly weighs, you're gonna add that much more on top of the 3,000 pounds. When it comes to propane, this is a big one. There are so many folks that watch my channel that make presumptions when it comes to comments. They'll say something along the lines of, you know, JD, Big Truck, Big RV doesn't know what he's talking about. Why is he saying a 30-pound propane tank weighs 55 pounds when it's a 30-pound tank? So there's all sorts of comments I get from folks who might not have a true understanding of what things actually weigh. When I talk about half-ton trucks and towing, I always include the weight distribution hitch, the weight itself of this assembly, into your calculation of how much you're loading on the truck, because these things aren't light. And even though they're designed to distribute weight, you have to factor in that that weight's not disappearing, it's just being distributed. So you do have to calculate the weight of your weight distribution hitch into all of your weighing. So again, the whole point of all of this isn't to basically say, you know, this is just how much this thing weighs, but it's so you get a good understanding of how much things can incrementally creep up as you add them to your truck or to your RV. That's the reason why I brought this clear source water filtration system out. Super cool, super effective. You know, it goes through 3 stages of water filtration, but this is something when you throw it in the storage compartment of your RV, it's gonna add weight. So we're gonna figure out just how much weight that would actually add. So the first thing we're gonna do is take this Rhino hitch and throw it on here. And we've already made sure it's calibrated. This is all zeroed out and we're ready to go. So I'm gonna grab the Rhino hitch. What do you guys think this beast weighs? This has the 3-inch shank on it for Super Duties that have a 3-inch receiver. Actually, before I put it on here, we're gonna grab a pad to put on top of this so it doesn't get scratched up. There we go. And then we'll zero this out one more time, even though the pad doesn't really weigh anything. All right. 30 pounds. So this one hitch right here weighs 30 pounds. Is that more or less than what you thought? And this thing is actually made out of aluminum, which means this aluminum Rhino hitch actually weighs as much, if not slightly more, than some of the B&W tow and stow hitches. So just something to keep in mind. Just because it's aluminum doesn't always mean it's going to be lighter, especially if it has a lot of material used to make it up. All right, next we're going to go to the gooseneck coupler. Now this is your standard run-of-the-mill gooseneck coupler that you would have on a gooseneck trailer. How much do you think this thing weighs? 34 to 36, it's jumping up a little bit, but 34 pounds, so let's just say 34 to 35 pounds is how much this thing weighs. So again, this probably may surprise you that it is only about 4 pounds heavier than that. And this is 1/4 inch thick steel. Very, very heavy. What did you guys think it weighed? All right, let's move to the clear source. This one's pretty cool. Okay, so we have the clear source water filtration system on here now. What do you guys think it weighs? All right, think about this. This is something that's likely to be in the basement compartment of your RV. So, you know, as you add things in there and you start trying to figure out how much things add up, what do you think something like this weighs? 28 to 30 pounds. It's kind of fluctuating there a little bit, but let's just say 29 pounds roughly. So 29 pounds, what did you think this weighs? Is this lighter or heavier than you thought? All right, let's move on. So next, you know what? Let's go to something relatively heavy. Maybe we'll do the Weigh-Safe weight distribution hitch setup here. And I've included the major components. I've included the entire hitch head assembly, the L brackets for the trailer, and then the spring arms that would attach in here. So this is the bulk of the weight that you'd put behind your pickup truck. So let's go ahead and put this on next. Keep in mind, this weight is actually resting well behind the axle of your truck. Okay, so we have the Weigh-Safe weight distribution hitch system on here. And believe it or not, this is roughly the weight of most weight distribution systems. A lot of your weight is in these spring bars. A lot of your weight is in the hitch head and the L brackets. This is all pretty much solid steel stuff. So what do you guys think this complete or almost complete Weigh-Safe weight distribution hitch system weighs? This one may surprise you. I usually say to factor about 110 to 115 pounds for your weight distribution system whenever you're trying to factor payload and how much weight you're taking off of your truck's capacity. 128 pounds. It's kind of shocking, I think, to most people, because I think a lot of people would probably assume that a system like this would weigh more like 75, 80 pounds. But this weighs 128 pounds. This stuff is extremely heavy, and that's one of the reasons why people are always looking for a better weight distribution system in terms of weight, something easier to put on their vehicle and take off their vehicle, because lugging something like this around certainly isn't easy for the average RV or the average family trying to go out. 128 pounds, that's pretty heavy. All right, we're gonna offload that one. Let's move to the Spartan, the Gen Y Spartan. This is a coupler that the folks over at Gen Y provided me for my Gooseneck trailer. I removed because it actually made the front of the trailer sit up higher than it should, and I wasn't able to level it out. But this thing is really, really heavy too. The question is, do you think this is gonna weigh more than that when you compare the two together? So something to kind of consider is this assembly right here was what, 34 to 36 pounds? So that part right there is very similar, but then all that mass down there is certainly going to add a lot of weight. So we're going to clear that one off, we're going to load this one up, and we're going to see how much it weighs. Okay, so we have the Gen Y Spartan loaded on here. This is their torsion flex gooseneck coupler, or gooseneck hitch coupler. What do you guys think this thing weighs? And do you think it actually weighs more than the Weigh-Safe system? So that's going to be interesting. You got your guesses down? Here it is. 106 pounds, and this is a certified scale, and we are zeroing it out in between each one of the readings. 106 pounds. Is that more or less than you thought? I'm gonna bet it's probably less than what a lot of people thought. I probably would have guessed it was gonna be maybe 140 pounds if I hadn't known this, but the reason why is because it's so awkward in terms of the weight. You have this shaft right here, and then you have the bulk of it up here, and it throws it off. So when you're carrying it around, you feel like you're carrying this rod with this giant weight on the end, and it feels heavier than it really is because it's very awkward weight. But yeah, 106 pounds for the Gen Y Spartan torsion flex coupler. Very cool. Now, let's move to the B&W companion hitch. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one. This thing is in two pieces if you want to separate it. You can take the hitch head off right here, and then you have the base. And this is their heavier duty 25,000 pound rated model, which isn't that much heavier than the lower rated model. I think it's 20,000 or 18,000 pounds. So we're gonna take this thing and we'll probably do it all together and then in halves, just to kind of see what the base and what the top of it weighs. So let's go ahead and get that Gen Y off of there, and we'll get this one loaded up. Okay, so we have the B&W companion fifth wheel hitch. 25,000 pound rated. This thing is a beast. It's actually my favorite fifth wheel hitch, just because of the build quality, the ease of use, the confidence whenever you're latching it shut, so you know that you've made a positive, closing contact between the jaws and your kingpin. Designed to fit in the puck system, so this isn't going to be as heavy as, say, their sliding system, or perhaps the one that requires the rails on the bottom. But what do you guys think this bad boy weighs? And I guess compare it in your minds to what you think the Gen Y weighed, as well as the WaySafe weight distribution hitch that you can see in the upper left corner. What do you think this bad boy weighs? I know some folks will probably say 200 pounds, some folks will probably say 250, but did you guess? 144 pounds. So let me get the glare off of it if I can. 144 pounds is what the combination of the top and bottom of this weigh. Now we're going to take the top off of it real quick just to see what the base weighs, and then we'll take the base off just to see what the top weighs. Okay, so whenever I'm moving this around, I always feel like the base is the heavier part. And when you look at the numbers on it, the base is the heavier part. Weighs between 78 and 80 pounds for just the base by itself. Now let's go ahead and throw the hitch head on top of it and see how much it weighs. Okay, now we have just the hitch head on here at 64 pounds. I think most people probably just could have done the math and figured that out, but 64 pounds for just the hitch head. And honestly, it's lighter than what I feel like it should be, if that makes sense. It feels like it's a heavier assembly than it really is. But, just when you factor in the weight of this combined, it's certainly a two-person job. I don't think there's really anybody who takes a lot of joy in having a combined companion hitch, moved into the bed of their truck. Most people will do it as separate components. But yeah, what did you guys think? Overall weight of this thing, is it heavier or lighter than what you thought? Okay, so we got one more item, and that is going to be the propane can, the elusive, controversial 30-pound propane can. And I keep telling people that it's 30 pounds of material. The can itself weighs more than 30, or doesn't weigh more than 30 pounds, but it probably weighs about 20 pounds. So when you combine the two together, it's certainly not going to be 30 pounds. But we're going to go ahead and lift that can onto this scale and see how much it weighs. So here it is, the controversial 30-pound propane can. What do you guys think this weighs? And this is almost full. When I say almost full, I think we used it to test a generator. But yeah, it's almost full. Does it weigh 30 pounds? That's the question. All those commenters who said, why are you saying a 30-pound propane can weighs more than 30 pounds when it's a 30-pound propane can? Well, we're about to find out. How much does a 30-pound propane can weigh full of propane? 52 pounds. So maybe we should call this a 52-pound propane can for those who want to hear that in a video. But yeah, 52 pounds. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? A lot of people, again, assume this is much lighter than it is. And if it was empty, it probably would be a lot lighter. But when you put 30 pounds of material in it, that leaves you a 22-pound empty propane can. Anyways, we'll get that cleared off, wrap up the video, and discuss a little bit of our findings. All right, so there you have it. Weighing all sorts of stuff. Most of the stuff are the things that my viewers actually requested. B&W companion hitch, weight distribution hitch. I just had that and I hadn't weighed it yet, so I figured I'd show that. The propane tank was probably the most commonly requested item to weigh. And then these items here, because they're just super heavy. And for reference purposes, using something like the Clear Source gives you a really good idea of how much things can add up really quickly. So let's say you have the weight distribution hitch on the back of your vehicle, which, as probably an average weighs around 120 pounds. You throw 50 pounds worth of propane on top of that. Now you're at 170 pounds with one propane can. And then you throw something like this on, which is 30 pounds. You're at 200 pounds just between your hitch, one tank of propane, and a water filtration system like this. So you can see very quickly how your payload capacity is going to be eaten up, not just from your trailer's tongue weight or from your RV's or your fifth wheel's pin weight, but also the other stuff that you carry in your RV, or even things that might help you actually tow your RV, like a companion hitch. You got a lot of weight here as well, and if you only have a few hundred pounds of payload capacity remaining after you load up your fifth wheel, adding something like this might certainly put you over, considering this weighs as much as some people do. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. Big shout out to the folks over at SellEton Scales for providing me their scaling equipment, all sorts of really cool equipment to be able to capture weight and show you guys how much things actually weigh. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you again very soon.